So today's video is all around the 15 ACA exams and how hard they actually are. So this is my most viewed blog and it's a question I'm commonly asked, and it's something that I just wanted to know before I started the ACA as well. What I will start off with then is the overall structure of the ACA exams and how they're kind of laid out. I'll then go into the overall difficulty and just how I found it. And then there'll be the more factual picture then where I bring in some statistics and pass rates. And then I will go into ranking the ACA exams from the hardest to the easiest. There are 3 levels, if you're unaware. There's the certificate level, professional level, and the advanced level exams. So it's 6, 6 and 3 exams. So that gives you the 15 ACA exams. So I do have a breakdown of all of those levels in the description below. Again, check that out. And I'll probably be doing videos on that as well, so make sure you do subscribe. So the certificate level is predominantly multiple choice exams. So you may be thinking straight away, oh, easy, but do you know what? It's actually not as easy as you would think. After that, there's a professional level, and these are just honestly such a huge step up from certificate. Like, I went from these 1.5 hour multiple choice exams to then even a 3-hour exam that was just so many pages of exhibits and everything. I was literally just like shocked at the difference. So yeah, it is a huge step up. And then one of those is actually an open book, but that is also where these advanced level exams come into it as well, and those are all open book as well. So I know what you might be thinking, open book, okay, must be easy, must be easier, but don't be fooled. There's just so much content, and that is just why it has to be open book, because it's just impossible to remember it all otherwise. So you're probably thinking, as you progress through the levels from certificate to advanced, it just naturally gets harder. But that's not actually the case, and that's not how I found it, and a lot of others didn't agree with that either. So make sure you stick around for the difficulty ranking. I really didn't find the ACA exams to be too bad. So they're not easy. I will never turn around and say they're easy, because they just require so much hard work, and that's something that I was able to give. So I really made sure to plan my time efficiently, and I've got lots of tips and tricks on that. So check out the link in the bio below. But yeah, honestly, it's not too bad if you put the work in. So I managed to achieve first time passes, but that's not the case for everyone. Although, to be fair, the majority of my cohort who I started with, they did also kind of get the same as well. But that just goes to show, I personally think that's because we were just a hard-working group who did want to pass those exams, and we really did what we had to. So I was literally at train stations just banging out these question bank questions, going through my multiple choice, just constantly at it. I really also think, like, these exams, you can't get away with cramming and just trying to just fit it all in last minute. It just doesn't work like that. There's too much to it, and there's too much you need to know. So yeah, that's also something to be aware of. I think the difficulty actually comes into play where you have multiple exams in one sitting, so you can kind of increase your intensity based on how many you sit at a time. So I sat 3 professional level exams at a time, and that's actually quite intense. So I don't think you can actually do more than that at a time, but other people tend to do 1 or 2. I think 2 is quite common, but yeah, 3 is just quite intense, especially when you are working and studying. So again, lots of tips on this, and make sure you do subscribe, because I'll be back with so many more videos on this. I do also think where it gets tricky is if you're completely new to accounting. So I was, but now what I've managed to do is put together this book, and I would strongly recommend checking it out if you haven't started yet. It's an accounting for beginners book, and it really does just drill into the basics and give you that strong foundation you need before you start. So to give more of a factual picture then, the certificate level exams and professional are both 55% pass marks. So you need 55 out of 100 to pass, which does actually sound easy, but you will be surprised because not everybody does pass. And I think the pass marks are roughly about 80%. So I'll put some real pictures in here so you can kind of see the actual statistics. So the advanced, they actually lower the pass mark to 50%, and I literally needed that. If I did not have that, I would not be sat here today saying I have first time passes. Like, I just don't know what happened, and I've got so many blogs on it, and it's just ridiculous. I don't know, honestly, I don't actually know if the exams are scaled, and there are rumours that there are and whatever else, and I personally think, based on how I did, and I know in some of them I did pretty bad and scored pretty highly, so I don't know, something kind of tells me they are, but yeah, honestly, no idea, it's never been confirmed. So let's get on to my difficulty ranking then, hardest to the easiest ACA exam. For context, I have added my actual own marks that I got in these exams, so you can see just how well or how badly I actually did. Okay, so difficulty ranking, let's go. So number 1, hardest exam has to be ACA Advanced Level Corporate Reporting. So honestly, when I was studying for this exam, I really didn't think it was too bad. And early on, I actually managed to pass my progress test with little revision. And that's just because by this stage, you know a lot of the content already, and it is open book as well. But this exam, there is just so much that can come up, and it is still so time pressured at 3.5 hours. It's just mad. I just had, honestly, an unlucky exam. I think I messed up my timings. There's things that I thought that I knew, I just didn't actually know as well when it came to it. And yeah, I really, honestly, just, I don't know how I got through this exam, but I'm so glad that I did. But yeah, I have to give that the top spot. Number 2, professional level tax compliance. So that might be quite surprising actually, because some people think it would be business planning taxation. But no, that's not how I found it. I just thought tax compliance just had so much you needed to memorize, and there were just so many computations, and it was also time pressured. But this one, I found that this exam just needs so much perseverance that it was just quite hard. Like during my mock, I thought, no, I've failed, I'm gonna walk out, and I actually didn't. But it's just, yeah, that one is just honestly tricky. So then the 3rd, that one I would say is business planning taxation. So it's open book, but again, so much content. I think with BPT, where the difficulty comes in is actually the time pressure. So if it was literally half an hour longer, I think it wouldn't be too bad. It's still very hard because there's a lot of application that's required in this exam. But I think if you do practice enough and go through the questions, you do kind of build that understanding. So I think the time pressure is where people go wrong with this exam, and I think that's why it's going to have the 3rd spot. To mention, there are also different variations. So there's business planning insurance and business planning banking, and those are ones that I wasn't doing, and I didn't sit those because I sat BPT. So yeah, I'm not able to comment on those. So number 4, I'll give financial accounting and reporting, and that's a professional level exam. It's that one that I spoke about where it's like 3 hours long and loads of pages and so much to know. And I think for me, that one was just such a step up. That's where it got really hard. I do strongly believe though, with a consolidation a day, you can keep the resit away, and that's what I tell everyone now, and so many people just preach that because it's so true. But yeah, that one's just so hard, just purely because of that step up, and you really do kind of need to get your accounting on point in this exam. So number 5 is strategic business management, and that's also an advanced level exam. So this actually includes 15 to 20% of that corporate reporting content. And to be honest, that's not even the bit that I've just found hard. I think I was just shocked at how badly I did in this exam, to be honest. I didn't find it bad at the time. When I was studying for it, I think the prerequisites, those 2 exams, the financial management and business strategy and technology, I actually did really well in. So I thought I naturally would do well in this one. But again, it's just one where anything can come up. But the difference with this one is you just don't really know if what you're writing down is actually correct, and it's quite subjective as well, but it is just hard to know. And I think that's where the difficulty comes in, because you kind of do just hope for the best. But yeah, there is of course things where you do know, okay, yeah, I'm hitting the marks here, I'm getting it right. But yeah, again, there's just so much to it. It is just quite difficult. Next on the list is financial management. So that's a professional level exam, and I think with loads of practice, it's not too bad. But where the difficulty comes in is actually the understanding, and there's just actually a lot of wordy content that you need to know. So explain this, or what are the advantages of this, disadvantages, etc. And just don't leave that to last minute. I kind of did, and I managed to pick it up, thank God. But I think it's quite a close one. It is just one that you just shouldn't underestimate. It is an exam I liked though. It was quite predictable and structured, and the actual content itself was quite interesting. So it's all about, you know, valuing a business, and it's different to audit, which is what I work in. So I think I like that different perspective. Right, so number 7, this is where it gets slightly surprising. So this is a certificate level exam. So bear in mind, we haven't been through all of professional and all of advanced yet, but number 7, I'm gonna have to give it to management information, which is a certificate level exam, and one that just scarred me ever since. It was the lowest one lowest mark that I got. I really thought I failed this one. I say that about all of them, but this one I really did think I failed. And it's just because you really need to understand the content. So I think I thought I did, but it was only until I got to that exam and I just thought, actually, I haven't understood this too well. And it was actually just really hard and just quite a surprising one that, yeah, it scarred me. And yeah, it gets 7. So number 8, I'd say, is professional level audit and assurance. So I work in audit, but at the time of this exam, I had barely done any audit. So it was essentially as if I was sitting it without having any audit experience. And that's where it's actually quite hard. And you can kind of learn standard answers, but you do need to apply what you are reading in the scenario and apply your answers to the scenario. And it can just be quite tricky. But what I would say is that it probably is a lighter professional level exam where it doesn't require as much question practice. So yeah, number 8. Number 9 then is certificate level accounting, and that's just because I had no accounting background, as I've previously mentioned. If I had my book, I bet you I would have found it a lot easier at the time. But yeah, it was just hard. It's like a new language when you first learn it, and yeah, for that reason I have to give that the 9th spot. So now the 10th spot, it might be a bit surprising actually, but for me it was the case study exam, which is an advanced level exam. It is the last ACA exam. And the reason that it's 10th and so low down on the list is because you don't actually need to learn anything new. There's no new technical knowledge. It is just about how you report right and things like that. And I didn't really find that too hard. I think where the difficulty came in is the kind of time pressure element, even though it is literally 4 hours long. And also the fact that actually there are many ways to fail this exam, and that's where it gets hard. So I've got blogs, loads of blogs about this exam, but yeah, that's where it gets difficult. So going on to then the last chunk of those exams. So number 11, I would say, is Principles of Tax, which is a certificate level exam, and I just personally think I had a really nice paper. So for example, you get these kind of tax dates, and like it's the administration of taxes, so the different filing dates and different, you know, penalties and things like that. You get that actually on a help sheet, and literally one of my questions was, oh, what date does, you know, your tax return need to be filed by? And I just literally picked it out of there and just put it straight into the multiple choice answer, and it was just so nice. But yeah, I think don't underestimate it though, because of course you do need to learn all the different tax rules if you're not familiar with them already. Number 12, I do actually still have one professional level exam left, and that's business strategy technology. And really, I just honestly found this to kind of be a comprehension exam. So I think it's one where I know some people really struggle, or some people just really get it. Unfortunately, I was one that did just kind of get it. And yeah, I think I really didn't need much practice on this one, and I turned up and I literally got like 80 in the marks. And yeah, this one was a nice one for me personally, so yeah, that's why I've ranked it so low. So number 13 is actually law. So quite surprisingly, the ACA does have a law exam in there, and I personally did actually kind of like it at the time. I thought, yeah, you know, get my lawyer on. I think where the difficulty comes in is that actually the questions can be quite similar in terms of the different multiple choice answers that they do give you. So yeah, that's where the difficulty comes in. But overall, I didn't find it too bad, because it was, once you've kind of learned it and practiced, you do kind of know what's going to come up in the exam, and you should hopefully do well. So another one similar to law is assurance, where you do also need to read the question and answers really carefully, and just make sure in that certificate level exam that you are just picking the right answer. But yeah, assurance, again, it's one you just learn the content, and with practice you should be okay. Finally then, my easiest ACA exam, and I think many people would actually agree with me, is business technology and finance. And that's a certificate level exam, and I just personally found it quite easy because it did kind of seem black and white in whether you're right or wrong. So you do need to learn these business models and things, and then you just apply that to the question. And to be honest, I think even though it seemed black and white, again, another one that I did maybe think that I failed,